Good evening, people. Welcome to Reaching Out with Eddie, where my guest today is Weston Lindermann. We just gonna jump right in here. I want to thank my previous guest from last week, Dustin Markham. He did a stellar job, and I'm gonna try to get his father, Robert Markham, here. So we're negotiating that now, trying to get him just now. Send him a text asking him to contact his father and find out whether or not he would be a guest on the show. I'm sure he will, and I think that'll be a great show as well. I just want to get right on in here. Welcome to the show, Weston Lindermann.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. Tell us what's going on. Well, it's been a hectic few weeks, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. It always is. There's
Yeah.
always something going on. So, where should we start today? I mean, there's no shortage of topics to get into.
How about we just talk about the state of the, let's just talk about, we might as well just talk about Tyrone Johnson and Ward 2, because that is something that I've talked about on this show here, and he was adamant about not still living where he lived, and of course all that's shown to not be true. And I sent a letter to the Secretary of State, and the Assistant Secretary of State answered that letter. Dice, I have that there. I sent it to him. If you want to bring that up at some point in time and give me a nod, and I'll let the people can see that where I sent them an email. So I want them to see that email I sent, and also I want them to see the response from the assistant.
Same thing you sent me. Right?
The same thing I sent to Weston Lindermann, right? But he was already on it. He kept saying, it's kind of perplexed a little bit, but I did the research on the law, and I was correct in that you guys, it's your duty.
It's the sort of thing you never expect to have to really deal with, and then when you find out that the facts are as they are, what you've proven already, we kind of have to do what we're supposed to do. There's no way around that. And so right now, kind of where I'm at is I've given the information you provided me to the city attorney, and I've asked him to look into what is the appropriate way to deal with this. He's done a couple of things that I know of so far. I think today he went and met with Donna Jill Johnson to figure out what she thought we were supposed to do. But
I think instead of, because that's not what her duty,
Right.
I think the reason why he went to see Donna Jill Johnson was to find out where he's actually registered to vote at.
Could be.
Yeah. And also, it could be a situation where he could get in trouble, because if he moved out, say in October, the law requires you to change your residency within 30 days. And if he hadn't done that, then it'll be up to Donna Jill Johnson to pursue charges against him. And also, if he voted, you got to vote where your domicile is. Your domicile is not your P.O. box. It's where you sleep at.
Right.
And so where you sleep at, where you stay at, is where you got to vote from. So if you move out of it, then you have to vote where your domicile is. You cannot go back and vote where you've been voting at all the time. To do so is voters fraud.
And it's just as much a practical issue to me as it is a legal issue. If you think about a council person who's got anything compromising on them, how easy it is for someone who wants to get, undue influence to call that council person and say, hey, we need you to vote this certain way on this subject, and if you don't, then we're just going to expose these facts about you. And anytime you're in a compromising position like that, whether you're a council person or a mayor, but especially when you're one of 5 votes, that's a serious issue. So even if you hadn't brought that out, there would still be a serious issue here that would be ongoing. When we vote on something like this upcoming $10 or $12 million bond issue next Tuesday, if that's an illegitimate vote, how do we deal with that? And luckily now we know ahead of that vote that it very well most likely is an illegitimate vote. So, that's where we are. It's unfortunate that this is the way things have played out. For the most part, I've enjoyed working with Councilman Johnson, but you can't circumvent the law for people you like. That's just the way it is.
I kind of wish it was more of that in our community. One of the things that I say is that our opinions are what keep us separated. Our opinions and our friendships. It hamstrings us. In our community, we've really got to get away from our friendships and our opinions. We can be so opinionated about something that we cannot look at facts. We're blind. We can't see and we can't understand. And I think that's one of the purpose of law, is that if we look at the law and what does the law say, and the law uses words like shall. Shall is mandatory. It's no getting around that. And once you vacate, they call in what the Secretary of State later. Dice, can you show that letter to the people? Okay. But anyway, what she said was that once a complaint is filed or is known that the council person or the alderman has abandoned their ward, then that seat has to be vacated by you guys. You guys does y'all the one that does that.
Yeah, and that's still, I'm not certain, because, Secretary of State's office doesn't really give legal opinions, although they do deal with election matters. So they do have some insight in this. But the reason I wanted to go to the city attorney is to make sure that that opinion that they gave you was correct, or if there's more to it, or maybe there's less to it,
Well, I read the law, and that's what the law says. It's the governing authority. You guys are. When it said it, the leader, the head, the administrator, the mayor.
And I know we established, the date for the next election, but I didn't see anything in there myself that said that we have to, have a motion that says that this seat's now vacated. It seems to me that it's just automatically vacated once that fact is known.
Yeah.
But
I think you guys put it in your minutes.
I think most likely, that would make sense.
Yeah. And then I think that's what she's suggesting. And another step that said if you guys didn't do your duty, actually me or Dice or anyone just would go to the Attorney General, and when they come in, somebody would actually go to jail, in my opinion.
I mean, we would all be liable at a certain point if we didn't do anything.
Because you're making votes that are illegal.
And when I think back between October and now, some of the votes we've taken, there have been some 2 and 3, swing votes where perhaps Councilman Johnson was that third yes vote that got something passed. And now, if that's called into question,
I'm going to call it into question. I'm just saying, especially if it's something that's adverse to the community, something that's not help. You got to look at how this whole thing is playing out. Wasn't he one of the individuals chosen to vet the new chief of police?
I think so. That's my understanding. And now, of course, that'll be changed once this gets dealt with. But yeah, as of last week, that was the case.
Yeah, him and Fannie Johnson always yes votes for Percy.
Well, I'd like to think they're going to do some due diligence in vetting this police chief or any applicant for the job. But to the point of, with this issue in particular, I think no matter what, we don't want to get in a situation where there's 2 council people who vote for something, 2 who vote against, and then another vote that's not even legitimate that is cast one way or the other.
It's something that you would have to revisit.
It'd be a serious issue if we went out and borrowed money next week based on 3 votes, one of which wasn't a legitimate vote. Then what do we do with the $10 million bond that we got illegally? I mean, that's not really a road I'm willing to go down. So we've got to deal with this soon.
So some people in the community are kind of like, I like him. I'm best friends with him. And that's the reason why I came up and I named this show Our Opinions is What's Separated. And I mean, I had not a heated discussion, but I think it was probably 2 notches down from a heated discussion, meaning no one was angry, but I was forceful and I was pretty adamant. I was actually shocked at the person that was telling me I like him. And another thing too, look where you at. Look what you just said. How many $10 million vote that you guys got to make, and if he make that, then that would put that into question. It's an illegal vote because he shouldn't be voting on anything. And this is an individual that want to be your mayor, people. Want to be Mayor Meridian. Do we really want? Well, let's just take color out of it. I got to go back to A Time to Kill when how Samuel Earl Jackson got off is that. He got him to take the color. Imagine if that was a little white kid. Well, imagine if this was not Tyrone Johnson or a white person. Let's take color out of it. That's what I said, we got to get our opinions, our emotions. Well, what about George Thomas? Does George Thomas live where he's supposed to live? Do you stay where you're supposed to stay?
I do.
What about the other 4?
I've never looked into it.
My point of it is that what does that, and any of that has anything to do with what's going on with him right now. He does not live in Ward 2.
Yeah.
So when I start asking you those type of questions, those are sidebars. Yeah. Those are designed to take you away from the real issues at hand. But we're very, in our community, and I have to talk about that because of association and then race, is that we're very good at sidebars. We're very good at looking at everything. It's almost if a horse tried to kiss me, I would move my face all kinds of ways to keep from kissing that horse. It's kind of when you try to get a person down to pinpoint, hey, let's just look at the facts. If we talk about anything other than the facts, then we're clouding it. It's like a distraction, but it's one of the things that we really got to get away. But talk to the people a little bit more about it. I think I saw heard
I
someone come
mean,
in.
I really think it's unfortunate that we've gotten to this point. I wish that mistake hadn't been made by the councilman to put us in this position. I think most likely the reason why no other council member has said anything to date, as far as they've been aware of the issue, if they have been, I think it's most likely because it's not, it's an uncomfortable thing to have to deal with, to try to enforce something that's going to vacate the seat of someone you've worked with for 3 years. So putting us in this position, we are where we are. We have to deal with it, and that's, that is what it is. It's unfortunate, but we can't circumvent the law for someone just because we like working with them or that we've had a good relationship working together in the past. We've just got to move forward and do things the right way, even if we are just 1 year away from the next election. So one way or the other, this is going to be dealt with, I think, pretty soon. But yeah, I'm just extremely disappointed that this is where it's gotten, and I hate that we're in this position, but we've got to deal with it.
Well, I'm glad to be one of the individuals that helped bring this to the forefront, because it really could have been something that mired down the city of Meridian in a lot of legal issues, a lot of legal quagmire.
Oh, if this came out 6 months from now after we had voted on who knows how many very important things that would have been 3 and 2 votes, to the point where those would have all been called into question and brought back, I mean, that could have been catastrophic. I don't want to be called one day and said that now all the city council members who voted for this bond next week have to pay the $10 million out of their own pocket because it wasn't a legitimate vote. I don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, and then you have this money, it's in an escrow account because of some kind of lawsuit or some kind of legal problem. It just sits there and you're not doing anything with it, but you still owe that money. You don't know, and it could have been really bad.
These things don't just go away.
Right. And what's the folks? I went to the courtroom yesterday, and I was down with Angela Chain, and she was supposed to have her preliminary hearing yesterday, but her initial appearance, not preliminary hearing. And she didn't have it because you guys had a workshop going on. What is going on in the courtroom?
Oh, I wish I could tell you what was going on. What we were doing yesterday was we had the Southern Poverty Law Center. We entered into a consent decree with them probably 6 months ago. It's a 3 or 4 year agreement, which basically says we're going to follow the law, which you wouldn't think you'd have to have another agreement to say that. But essentially what they had a problem with was they believe there were instances where the Judge Robbie Jones, was giving people ultimatums, either you do this class or you pay this fine or you go to jail, whether it was for things like shoplifting or domestic violence or any misdemeanor crime, right, that comes in municipal court.
Well, it wasn't like that initially, was it?
I don't
know. I think it's like that now, but you're right. That's
I don't know how long it's been a problem, but they want us to stop. Ultimately, is the issue. And
another thing is putting people in jail with fines and that kind of thing.
And that's not legal. You can't put people in prison for not being able to pay money.
Right.
That's just not legal at this point. But what I observed yesterday maybe calls into question some other issues. I think from our conversation with the Southern Poverty Law Center people that we've got some work to do in that regard. I sat in, there was a case right before our meeting, and so I was there to observe that.
Is this Tiana Crow's case?
It was. Mm-hmm. And while she gave me a copy of the motion that was being made that day and the hearing that she had previously, I haven't read through all that yet, so I can't speak to the facts of the case. But I can speak to one issue which seemed pretty obvious that was brought up by her counsel there who was from the Southern Poverty Law Center. And that was, she was still being given this ultimatum that either you go to this class at TAME, which is like a counseling or mental health treatment.
It stands for Teaching Anger Management Education, but they do other things also, and they call it TAME.
It's a for-profit company. It's not like Williams or any other
I got to ask you, this money that the people at TAME collect, does this goes into the City Meridian? Not one penny of it?
That goes to TAME and the people who work there and the people who
It's got to
run the
be
place.
something illegal about this. That you you guys don't get one penny of this money, but you put somebody in jail if they don't go to this class.
Well, that part is illegal. You can't give people a decision like that. If they can't pay to go to TAME, you can't tell them they're going to jail. According to Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah, I read it. You can't do it. I
don't think you can. Yeah,
you can't. You just can't do that. But Robert Jones did, and what he did, I think yesterday, is that he did another continuance.
Right. I think he gave her through maybe September, October to pay the money and go to the classes.
What he's
And
trying,
otherwise,
what he want her to do is save him. If I was her, I just wouldn't pay it. I just wouldn't pay it. I
well,
just don't have it.
mhm,
She got 3 children.
mhm,
She's single parent. There's no way she can pay $350. And that's one of the things that goes on in our community. We have to pay money that we don't have. I think that you really need to do away with the whole damn city court. I'm just telling you the
mhm,
truth, because the whole thing is doesn't matter whether or not you're innocent or guilty. The whole thing is designed to put money in the city coffer, and we got to get away from that. We got to find another way of making money, another way of creating a tax base in the city of Meridian. If you brought jobs in, if you create a better quality of life, and it's going to start with education and leadership. Things gonna continue to be like that, because what they do is they make a lot of money. How much money did you guys collect in city court last year?
I'd have to look. I don't know offhand, but
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
ask you that question. It's in the millions.
oh, it's there. Yeah. I mean, I could go and look for you and find
Yeah,
that out. I don't know
yeah,
offhand, but
yeah.
I do know criminal justice isn't supposed to be a for-profit entity.
That's right.
Although it seems like that's too common these days. I think, one thing that we can do, and we're going to look at this probably at our next work session, whether that's 2 weeks from now or next month, is an ordinance that would not give the judge the authority to just say you're going to tame for shoplifting,
For everything,
for anything and everything. I
anything,
mean,
and everything.
I can't understand how that makes sense. So what we're looking at now is, what if we just had language and
I know. Excuse me, people. I know one person paid the money, did not go to class, and got their certificate. I know another person that could not stay in the class and was allowed to leave the class and was not sanctioned in any type of way. I know another individual that could not make it in the time they were supposed to make it, so they were had to, okay, we'll let you reschedule, but it's gonna cost you, instead of costing you $350, it's gonna cost you $425. And that person really had to borrow money, and somebody had to pawn something at a pawn shop. This is what our community is being subjected to, and that's just
and they're
illegal.
being given the alternative of do that or go to
Or
jail.
go to jail for
And
5 days.
that's just not legal.
Nobody wants to go to jail for 1 day. 1 day.
Especially when you're struggling to make ends meet, and now
I don't
how
care
you
what
gonna
it
square
is.
that
Bill
with your
Cosby
job?
had all kind of money. He wasn't
Sure,
struggling.
yeah,
He didn't want to
right.
go to jail.
Right,
Nobody
yeah,
wants to go
nobody
to
wants to
jail.
go, yeah.
It's punitive. I mean,
But what we can do is we can require that the judge offer more options than just tame if we put that in an ordinance. So we could say, what about Weems? What about online classes?
what about if you guys really need to look at city court, everybody coming in there getting found guilty? You got to look at that.
Well, one thing I need to do personally,
There's just, I mean, Judge Jones is, I like him, but most people go. And it didn't just start with him. In the city of Meridian, Meridian has traditionally used city court as a way of putting money in the city coffers, so it does not matter. Most people don't even understand. It was me that told Tiana that she could appeal it. I was in there when she went to trial that day. It was awful the way they was able to do what they were able to do. And another thing came out is that the judge is also their attorney.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had heard that.
And plus they're asking that he recuse himself, and it's his duty to recuse himself when he know the person or it's a conflict of interest.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, yesterday was the first time I've ever sat in municipal court in the city of Meridian.
Y'all see what color he is, don't you? You see that? I bet you, Dice, you ever been to city court? Well, Dice is a rare jewel. He's a genius. Well, I be damned if I couldn't ask 10 other people. I bet 10 black people, all of them going to say yes. 10 white people going to say no.
Well, just observing it, though, was pretty enlightening. So, I mean, I need to spend more time sitting there watching case after case, seeing how things are handled. Because I know if I watched one case and that's the way it was handled, there's probably some other issues there,
I got to tell you this, what I don't like. I don't like this at all. I don't like going into a courtroom and I see the majority of the people sitting in there that are being punished are black people, and I look up there and you got the judge is white, you got the assistant DA and the DA and the defense attorney white. It's got to be something damn wrong with that. I'm just telling you, that is real. How can you expect us to get justice when we don't even have any representation in the courtroom, and the only black attorney that we don't have many black, how many black attorneys we have in Meridian? 2. One of them's working the DA's office.
There's
I
more
forgot
than
his
two.
name.
There's more than two.
Well, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Well, it's only one. I only know one, and that's Joseph Denson. He's a very good attorney. He was the city court defense attorney, and Percy Bland fired him and replaced him with what's the guy named the white guy?
I don't know his name. He kind of looks like Rudy Giuliani, if you
Yeah.
ask me. But
But the thing of it is that how can and we even I mean we gotta look at modeling. We gotta look at what Percy. I gotta tell you, man, this is awful. It really is, and it's gotta be fixed. And it's sad that here I am. I mean, here you are. You're not my color. You're not my peer. But you're looking out for me more so than anybody else that is like me, and I really appreciate that, you know. And here it is with Percy's. He's my peer because him and I have about the same amount of education. Well, he's not as old as I am, but I'm almost as thuggish as he is because some of the things that he done. Well, let me just get off that. I just want to say this is that he's a black man, and it's ironic how this is a majority black city, and a black man is at the rings of it. And look at what's happening to us. We have the Southern Poverty Law Center in here to straighten out a courtroom where the judge is white, the district attorney. I've seen her work. I've seen her modify her behavior. She's a chameleon in the courtroom. When she lost the case.
The DA?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen her in
She
action, too.
lost the case, and when the next person came up, she modified her behavior just that quick just to get a guilty verdict.
Amazing.
And we got to get away from that. It's not about, it should be, one thing I like that Joseph Denson said, the outcome should not be to find a person guilty or innocent, but to administer justice.
Right, it's not
and
about
justice should lead you if
yeah.
a person is innocent. And I got to tell you, Anderson is a bulldog. We have a phone call. Let's take this call.
Okay.
No phone call.
Okay.
But to your point, you know, and I don't know about, again, I don't know a whole lot about municipal court and the way it's been operating other than what I've just observed. But I've seen the DA's office in action, and, you know, I've noticed some of those similar things that you mentioned. I think we need a full-time public defender. I heard Dustin Markham was being considered for that, actually, as early as today. So I hope that that's true.
But Dustin has enough hats on his head, and I like Dustin, but we got Joseph Denson, and then we have other black attorneys that you just mentioned, but Akila Hutnall's gone.
Right.
So she's not here
That's
anymore.
true. Yep.
So I don't know who the other ones are.
Sure, it's definitely limited. So I don't know if he's willing to accept
Who?
that position. I said it's
I'm
definitely
talking about
limited.
who?
I don't know.
You said it was other, but I
Well,
thought it was only one, and Joseph
You mentioned
Denson.
someone at the DA's office. I was thinking Dustin and Denson, and I'm struggling to think of any others myself.
Well, the other guy, he's a black guy, kind of heavy set at the DA's office.
Okay, I don't know him.
Yeah, I think he's an attorney. I forgot his name. They brought him in to put color in the DA's office. Because you have color, that doesn't mean that things are fair.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things that really concern me is the new chief of police.
Yeah, and
That
we talked
really
about this a
concern-
little bit before.
But I want to talk
yeah,
about it
sure.
a little bit more now because I've been listening to the grapevine people, and I've heard some things. I heard that this guy was brought on just specifically to bring Darrell Thomas back to the police force. I was told, and this has nothing to do with you, I was told that the reason why Dubose was fired, Benny Dubose was fired because Percy went to him and asked him to bring the drug task force and the gang unit back, and he wanted Darrell Thomas to come back. And a deal been made with Cassie Coleman, reason why she's sitting on the indictment of Evans, Coleman, and Thomas. And Darrell made over $100,000 stealing time. Am I right or wrong about that?
That's
Mr.
the one
Councilman?
case I can say without any doubt he's got to be guilty. I mean, I requested those timesheets in the summer of 2018, and immediately I noticed he was working way too many hours for that to be right, and that he also had the job at the school district. So how could he be doing both of those at the same time? And that got pushed along to the state auditor's office.
I just got slapped in the face, Dustin. Man, you my hero, man. Dustin. Hey, when I'm talking about one black attorney that's not making like six figures. Now I'm just kidding, Dustin. You're right. I know about you, Dustin. You like, your dad's my mentor, my hero, and not only you're everything. But I apologize for that, but I know way more than one black attorney. I know three. I know Judge Young, I know Dustin Markham, and I know Joseph Denson and Akila Hutt and all that. So I know four. I don't know that fifth guy, but it's a fifth one. Thank you, Dustin. Continue.
I had to get a little correction there.
Yeah.
Now I kind of lost my train of thought there. What were we talking about?
We was talking about the stealing of time. The man
That's
made
right.
hours.
That's right.
Folks, look at this. Benny only made, how much Benny made? Benny made what about?
Oh, maybe 80-something thousand.
And Darrell made over $100,000 last year stealing time. Wow. And Percy's going to bring him back. Benny say, and then the unit has already started. They started it Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, last week.
That's news to me.
Well, I was told by a police officer. I don't think the police officer going to lie. Said the new chief of police was brought back. When a mayor brings somebody in, he gonna bring them in to do what he want done. Mm-hmm. And why do you want a drug task force and a gang unit? We've had that before. It has not helped. It has not done anything but just put more burden. I think somebody want drug money. At one time, I was told that police officers was putting drugs back on the streets. That's what I was told now. I was told that. And it stopped when the unit was disbanded, and it stopped. It seemed like somebody want to start doing that again. And I don't know whether it's true or not, but I was told that it was the brothers.
It's funny, I hear some of those same things,
Yeah, I was told, and understand, I'm not accusing them of taking drugs and putting them back on the street, but I was told that they was doing that, and not only that, keeping the money and making money themselves. So we don't. If this administration is a rogue administration that's doing things that's illegal, and then we have people there that are protecting people that are doing things that are illegal, then we need to change this administration. We really do. We need to get away from a courtroom where everybody is guilty. We need to get away from a courtroom where a judge going to sit there and he going to listen at the facts, not because this person he's you my friend, so you got to be telling the truth. I don't even care if you're telling the truth. We got to get away from that.
Definitely.
We got to.
I mean, we can do better all around, I think. But with the stealing time, that apparently was much bigger than just one person, because they got three officers at once.
And it's one other person
and one other.
Yeah, that
and
was
now
doing
there's
it.
one on administrative leave, is my understanding. Who I think intends to apply for the chief's position, because that makes sense.
I'm going to call his name.
No, you don't have to.
No, you ain't doing it. I'm going to do it. Jay Ayrton, the Captain Ayrton. From what I understood, that he's going to be charged. And Weston didn't tell me this. I was told by other people, if not charged, he most certainly. And he wants to be chief of police. Can you imagine that? He's the one that turned everybody in, and now he wants to be chief of police, and he was still in time also. And then John Griffin, Captain Griffin, want to be chief of police, but he has baggage also. What's his baggage? Oh, I don't know. Maybe having sex with one of the people that's working at City Hall and got caught or something like that.
I don't know any facts, but
I'm just telling you what I heard in the grapevine, folks. It's what I heard now. But so your new chief of police is Lou Robbins. That's your new chief of police. Person just playing games like he always does. He's gonna give us Rita Dubose for the assistant chief, so that the black community will be satisfied. I kind of like that in a way, because her position will be protected when we change out the mayor's job.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is an advantage of being civil service. And while we're talking about civil service, they will actually have to approve those three officers getting their jobs back. It won't just be the mayor's decision or the chief's decision.
Person owns all the boards. He makes sure that with the people he put on there.
Well, it's convenient, perhaps, that Al Willis is no longer on the board.
Yeah, because Al wasn't going to do it. Al is no nonsense.
He was pretty outspoken. And I did talk to the mayor about why Al was removed, and he indicated that it was mostly because he was more outspoken about political issues outside of civil service meetings. If that's the real reason, then I can understand that, because it is supposed to be a real independent commission, right? But we'll be looking to see who he appoints, and I'm going to ask them some tough questions about, how they're going to respond to certain situations as commissioners. That's one of the more important functions of municipal government, and if we don't get that right, then all sorts of things can go wrong, such as inviting those officers back to the city of Meridian, and they'll get back pay for all the months that they've been gone.
I was told only one was coming back, and that was Darrell. That the other two, they have a different attorney. And that they
that much is true. Yeah,
that Cassie is sitting on those indictments that she won't. Not only it's 3 indictments here, and it's another indictment where somebody committed a crime in Clark County. She's sitting on that too. Do we really see what we keep doing to ourselves? when these people stay here, Cassie has a husband and a family in Georgia. Why would she stay here if it's not something going on, some kind of collusion, some kind of corruption? The income is not that great here. She can get a greater income, and then to be away. My wife ain't gonna be away from me like that. I'm telling you, boy. That's how that song came. Jody came. Jody got your girl and gone.
Right.
That's how that came in there. Well, I guess Josie got your man and gone, because Josie pretty bad herself, you
Right.
know. But anyway,
These are the types of things that, I mean, you have to wonder, why is that going on? And you could speculate, but I don't think we know today. It's something to think about, though, for sure.
I was also told that the new chief of police don't even know how to operate a computer. I'm just folks. I might be being a little bit facetious, but basically, said that to say this: that he doesn't know what he's doing. He didn't have a clue what he did. When person talking about 40 years experience, police experience, that's not true. He 20 years police experience. If he was such a good cop, he would have stayed there longer than 93, because Dubose was there in 93, and he's just now leaving now. So he could not have been a good cops that's 20 years. That's minimum for retirement. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was there 20 years and he left. He went to the DA's office. He was a private investigator for the DA's office. And I've seen him, and he has never spoken to me. He does not like black people. From what I understand, in my opinion, he doesn't like black people. He hadn't done anything. And there's been a lot of bad things that happened in Bill Bowe's administration. In our community, Bill Bowe's administration has not helped, has not been nice to the black community. And Cass is starting out like that, meaning giving us a lot of time and not being fair. Only thing I want to do is, you don't have to give anybody. When you're talking about giving somebody 30, 40, and 50 years, you're killing them. Just go ahead on and kill them. That's what you're doing. And then then you're talking about your pro-community, you love God, you're going to church. But then what about the children? God says suffer not the little children. What about the little children being left at home? We got to look at all that. But mostly the city court is a travesty, because you have to go in there, and it has not, Judge Jones, I like it, but it has not gotten like that today. It has always been like that. Where they use that, and you guys gotta find another way of generating income. That's something that you could do. Hey, let's find a way. We want the courtroom to be fair. We don't want people to be found guilty and telling people they got to appeal. Ain't nobody got money to do that stuff.
And it must not even be about the city generating income, because we're sending it to Tame. A private
But not
company.
just that. That's just a little small thing. But all these other things.
I don't think it's a small amount, though.
It's most definitely not a small amount. From what I understand, I don't know. I was told that the lady that runs Tame, that's Frank Coleman's sister. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think it's in relation to the Judge Williamson. Lester Williamson's
sister. It is. Yeah. She's one of the people that's there that runs it.
And so that doesn't by itself mean anything.
But that's okay to me, because she's been out there. She know about drugs, but she ain't gonna know about anything else. But she definitely know about drugs.
Sure.
Yeah.
However, I think there should be options available, and when you've got other entities like Weems or online classes that are more affordable than a $400 class at Tame, that should not be the only option. And you definitely shouldn't say do that or go to jail.
Right. Well, Weston, is the workshop today, is there anything else we need to talk about?
How much time do we have?
We got enough time to talk about whatever you want to.
Okay, yeah. Well, we did have a work session today. We're kind of talking about paving right now, and the mayor has proposed a $10 or $12 million bond that will be paid over 20 years. So we're going to borrow a whole bunch of money to try to just get caught up on paving. That's his proposal. So I met with him yesterday, and we discussed this a little today, and basically said the only way that that's going to happen, that they're going to get my vote at least, and George Thomas is already a no, so right then and there you're already at 2-2, assuming Councilman Johnson can't vote on this, then they need my vote for once. Usually they can just pass anything without me voting for it. Right. So I told the mayor, if we commit at least $1 million from the budget, our general budget every year, to maintaining roads, in addition to that borrowed money, so we're not just going out and relying only on borrowing money, and we also make sure that that's a 10-year loan instead of 20 years, then I'll probably vote for it. But we're a long way from that point, I think, until we can show where we're going to get that money from in the budget, and we've got until Tuesday to figure it out, because I think they want us to vote on it then. So this is going to be Probably a close vote. I suspect it'll probably be either 2-2 or 3-1, assuming Councilman Thomas continues to say he's going to vote no on this. He said that now.
Why is he voting no?
Two meetings in a row. Well, he's been around long enough to know whenever you go out and you try to fix roads with borrowed money, by the time you get through, before you even paid off what you already borrowed, it's time to pay them again.
That's right.
So that's why I say, if this is going to be a 10-year loan, let's go ahead and say we're going to commit $1 million at least each year out of our budget. That way, by the time we've paid this off, we've already put in another $10 million, and we don't have to keep borrowing. I think that's a better way to do it.
I got to ask you this. What are you guys going to do? I don't have anything to do in Meridian. There's nothing for me to do here. And I'm 66 years old. There's nothing for Dice to do here. There's nothing for you to do here. There's nothing for our children to do here. Now, they create a lot of activities for people to drink and do things downtown. But there's nothing for the children to do. The parks, what happened to the parks? Well, there's nothing for the children to do here. It's nothing. What are you guys going to do
There's
about
a lot
that?
of room for improvement, for sure. One thing that was briefly mentioned today, we'll see where this conversation goes, was about what to do with Frank Cochran Center now that it's been damaged. And once we get whatever money we get from insurance, are we going to go above and beyond and put some improvements into that facility, or are we just going to restore it back to where it was, right? And there was at least some level of conversation. They didn't give us a lot of details. We've got this new Parks and Rec director. He mentioned having some additions to the facility to allow for other types of activities there. Details of that are, to me, mostly unknown at this time.
I would like to see you guys repeal that law where you can't open up a club or dancing or drink or something like that within 1,000 feet of a church. That is something that's stupid. It's ludicrous. Long as it ain't going on while the church is going on, man. Laws like that has really caused the quality of life. Nothing for people to do.
Well, when you have about 80 churches inside the city limits or Lauderdale County, I forget which it is, but there's about 80 churches, I think, in Lauderdale County.
It's more than that in Lauderdale County. It's about that many in Meridian, probably.
I think so. So, that may be something that needs to be revisited. I'm not sure.
I think there's something that really needs to be done. Also, I know you guys can't address that, but I think that if a person is selling drugs near a church, what the hell? A sin is a sin. You guys ain't got nothing to do with God business. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just a way of enhancing time for poor folk. Because usually churches are around poor folk. Ain't nobody gonna sell drugs within 1,000 feet of the churches that you guys go to because they're so big and it's not in the hood.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
But mostly everywhere else, it's just one of the things you guys really need to get away from that. You guys have caused the Hole in the Wall was the last club that closed down, and they can't open it back up. On 10th Avenue. So there's nothing for nobody to do, but it's plenty for you guys to do. You guys gotta really. When I say you guys, I'm talking about white. Plenty for white folks to do because they got all this stuff downtown. They say everybody to go, but then a lot of things. And then one thing that really pisses me off is that there's no entertainment for black people at Riley Center at the Grand Opera House. You guys y'all cannot approve a budget that does not include some black entertainment, and not just for old folk like me, young people too. Sure. Young people need something. This thing, if Meridian is a community where everybody living in it, then you need to act like everybody living. I'm not fussing at you, but that's just what's going on. And then, we just need more things for us to do here. If like they said, idle man is the devil workshop. So people ain't got nothing to do but just sit around and sedate themselves with marijuana, drugs, and maybe shoot each other up. Let's give us something to do. Give our children. Children need to get out of the house away from the game, but they ain't gonna get out of the house away from the game. Not everybody can afford to go to Jump Zone. Not everybody can afford to go to the Boys and Girls Club. So then you got the other children that are at home.
Yeah, there are some easy things we could do. I was hanging around downtown one day, and I had some young kids ask me at Meridian Underground, of all places, why can't we have a skate park somewhere in Meridian? Because you'll see some kids riding around on their skateboards on the sidewalks, and that's kind of in the way. It's not really for that, but the answer I got was that it's probably too much of a liability, which I don't know if that's a legitimate excuse or not, but. It's sometimes just the simple things like that cost very little money that we can do to create a safe place or a safe enough place for kids, teenagers, young adults to go to and have something to do. Now that obviously only caters to one group of people or one interest group, something like a skate park. But there are so many different things like that that we should be encouraging that so far we haven't. And there's really no good excuse for that. I mean, you're right. We do have a lack of things to do in this town. I met somebody just the other day from out of state that has been here working for about 6 months or so, and that was their chief complaint about Meridian. Like, the people are nice enough, but what do y'all do?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing. It's just nothing here to do, and that's sad. And even our educational system, we just gotta improve it all the way around, and it begins with you guys. I want to talk about this one particular cop. I got to talk about him, and that's Anderson with the Meridian Police Department. He's a little short guy, and I'm a short guy, but I don't have an inferiority complex because I realize a lot of great men in history were short people, such as Napoleon, such as Hitler. I don't care what he did. He was a genius. Look what he was able to do. I'm not talking about the Holocaust, but if you go back and look at the height, there was few people that were tall, such as Abraham Lincoln, very tall. But a lot. So my height doesn't bother me, but this guy's really pushing for Angela Chaney to go to jail.
I'm not familiar with this at all.
Well, I mean, I'm familiar with it because I'm there. I'm going to be one of the ones that testify to her character. Here you got, folks, listen at this. You have Angela Chaney. Angela's about 28 years old. She's been in the military 7 years. She's a sergeant in the military, about to get her commission. Never been in trouble before in her life. Here she is. She's a single mother. She works hard. She finished school at Meridian High School. She went on and got her degree from MCC for 2 years. Then she went on and got her bachelor's degree from Mississippi State University Meridian branch. Now she's in the master's program. She has her own business called Java Yak. Worked very, very hard. Here she goes. She's leave her house. She's going from her house to the school, and on the way, she get a phone call. Her son called her, and he's crying. He's hysterical. Then, of course, imagine her son, 9 years old, accidentally shot. It was an accident. Shot his cousin, 8 years old. Now, she didn't have a gun. Excuse me, but she didn't have a gun on the counter, on the bed. It was in the shelf. It was on the high shelf. Excuse me, folks.
Yeah, I'm totally lost on this one. I guess I haven't kept up closely, but
the devil show don't want me to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it because I don't know what was in my throat then. But anyway, the gun was in the closet, and so people, I'm gonna kind of like stand back a little bit. You see how short I am. Anyway, so imagine me standing up and hear the shell, and you can put your hand up there, but the little kid had to. I mean, imagine being you have to be, if you like your height, Weston, you still would have to reach your hand up on the shelf. This kid playing hide and seek and went up there and then investigating and exploring and found the gun in a box and accidentally shot his cousin.
Yeah.
And this is the case that Anderson is pursuing. I just got to ask you, a little bit of rascal, why in the world is that you want to hurt? I'm sorry. I want to apologize for calling him a little bit of rascal, but I'm going to call him a rascal. Why would you want to? You have what you call police discretion. How can you just take it and then guess what? The city attorney, this is a case I can prosecute. See, that's what we need to get out of the courtroom, and that's where you guys come in at. We got it, man. We want some fairness, man. We don't want to. We've already, black lives do matter, but all lives matter. I mean, but the little girl is okay. She's running and playing. Folks, I told you last week, it was him that called 911. It was him that attempted at his age trying to stop the bleeding. It was an accident.
How old was the kid?
9 years old. And then in Anderson's statement, the little kid was brandishing a weapon. You know what brandishing a weapon is, right? This is brandishing, folks. With playing like, look, you come up on somebody with a gun and you brandishing it. Like a police officer actually brandishing a weapon, it's just on their side. If they pull it out, if you got a gun and you pull it out and you waving it in a threatening type way, that's brandishing a weapon. These are the kind of words that he's using in order to destroy a black life. I mean, wow, man. Even called the JAG off and had them, which is beyond the scope. We found out you done that, Anderson. We're going to file a complaint against you. We're going to see what the new interim chief police going to do. But anyway, this is the kind of thing that you guys, man, you got some bad cops down there at Meridian Police Department. You have some very good cops. Don't get me wrong. You have some very good cops. I mean, doing a stellar job. But then you have some road cops down there, such as the ones that you done terminated. They're still in time. And so, but white folks, y'all got to be involved with this too, because you understand that you got to come into this city and you might not feel safe coming to this city. You might understand, look what happened to the Andracchio. This is Judge Jerry Wayne Thompson's grandson that was killed. So if you had the right people in place that don't sit on indictments, and it's Stuart Parrish, if you out there listening, whoever have anything to do with that case, Mrs. Andracchio, you need to use this as another way of removing Cassie, because she's sitting on indictment, so she's not doing her job anyway. But who's going to do it? How can you police the police?
That's a tough one, especially if you're like me on the council, where we don't really have enforcement authority.
But you guys can talk to your chief about some of the things that's going on. You guys are the ones that affirm Judge
That's right.
Robert Jones. Who was it? A unanimous?
Yes, it was.
See that? And so y'all want to keep Tyrone the one kicking y'all in the head. Him and Fannie Mae Johnson. And who's the other person? And Kim Barney Houston. All of them. Fannie Mae want to run for she want to be reelected. Tyrone want to be your mayor, and so does Kim Houston. But look what they've done to you. They're the reason why. They have a reason. This the man been fighting by himself. They have a duty to make sure this city is ran as best as it could, and they haven't been done that. But now they say, well, make me mayor. Wow. But I've been watching you for 4 years. I've been watching you for 3 years. I've been watching you for 8 years. I haven't seen you done anything. In Kim's case, been there longer than everybody.
I'll say one thing.
Okay, we got a caller. Okay, we're going to take a call. Okay, go ahead, caller. I'm sorry to have you wait. Caller, you on there?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I want to say two things. One thing is, yes, we have some awesome cops. But when we have awesome cops and they stand by and let the bad cops be bad cops, and don't say anything or don't do anything, that does not make them awesome cops.
Well, look what happened to Benny Dubose. Excuse me, let me just say this. Look what happened to Benny. Benny was fired because he would look at James Lee. James Lee was crossed out by the clique. So you got to look at that. When they stand up, then they got children, they got families to feed. So I understand what you're saying, but I kind of take a little different. I look at a different perspective.
You stood up and you're standing up now. I stood up and I'm standing now. Weston stood up. He's standing now. In order to bring better, you have to stand for what's right. As long as you're willing, as long as the majority is willing to go along with what's been done wrong, then the wrong gonna win every single time. It doesn't matter. They just have to find the courage and the strength to do what's right.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I'm gonna agree with you on that. I agree with you on that, because if the good cops stand up against the bad cops, we can root it out and we can begin creating new change, a new beginning, and we do need a new beginning. Thank you for calling in, Marie.
That's the way it should work. And looking at police department, outside the police department, civil service employees are protected, but for some reason it's been so hard for them in the past and today, when they see something that's wrong, to actually speak up. You know, think about when we had that hostile work environment investigation, and we had an open platform for any employee to come and tell us what the problem was, and only one decided to come in person and speak out of around 500 employees. So that's not really a problem unique to the police department, although it is pretty bad. You know, for whatever reason, people are hesitant to speak out, even if their job is protected.
Well, I got to ask you one thing. Thanks for calling in, Marie. I want to ask you.
No, that's not. I say I had two things.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I didn't get a good understanding. The three officers who stole time. Okay, you said they were or they were not charged?
They were charged, and from what I understand, from my understanding, they were indicted also, but Cassie Coleman is sitting on the indictment.
Okay, it doesn't matter if she's sitting on the indictment. Or you mean to tell me that our chief of police or our mayor can hire them back even though they are under indictment for
If
stealing time
from what I understand, his indictment's supposed to be dismissed. That she was going to dismiss his indictment.
And even without that, I think the Civil Service Commission, because they've appealed it, right? So they're going through this hearing process. But for a number of reasons that their hearing has been continued for several months now. This has been going on for probably 6 months at least. I think April is when it comes up at that Civil Service hearing, so that'll be a couple months away now. But at that point, if 3 of 5 Civil Service Commissioners vote to reinstate those officers, they get back pay for all the time they've missed, and they get their jobs back.
And that's what Percy's shooting for. That's the reason why, what his name, was not reinstated. Percy
Al
shooting
Willis.
for Al Willis, yeah. That's
And
the
I
reason.
don't know that specifically that's his agenda with doing that.
It would seem so. I mean, I'm just giving my opinion. It's my opinion that the reason why he's putting people on the Civil Service Board that would do what he wanted them to do. And we gotta get, if Percy would fight like that for the rest of the city, I gotta ask why. Why, Percy, if these guys can steal more than $500,000 from the city of Meridian, why would you want them to stay there? I mean, well, isn't it like Donald Trump? Isn't it ironic how Percy's kind of like Donald Trump? I mean, the cronyism, the violating of the law, breaking the law, and the people that are bringing around him doing the same thing, putting people in position that'll do what he wants them to do. Do we really want that for our city? Percy, I mean, we really, people... And Percy, I know you're listening, but Percy, we're not going to allow for you to do that to us anymore. We're going to remove you. We're going to fight you like you fighting for these guys to come back. We're going to fight for you not to be reelected. We also going to fight to remove you. We just going to do that. If I can find a way to charge you with some person, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start looking for they need to start having, it's not legal in Mississippi to have recall votes. If it did, a lot of them would be gone.
Oh, yeah.
And my last thing is we need to work equally as hard to remove Robbie Jones because the city is nearly broke. Robbie Jones makes $12,000. Well, he makes $60,000 a year, which is $5,000 a month. Mm-hmm. That is over $200 a week, and he's not even there every day. That is absolutely ridiculous, and we cannot afford it. We need to get him gone and lower that salary. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in.
Part of the trouble with these appointments are, you get on the council, your first month on, you have to do, a dozen appointments, and it's for 4 years, except for city attorney, that's every year. So, you don't have a whole lot of time to really get to know how this person is operated in that position, and once you've approved them, that's it.
I think you can change that somewhat because even though it's for 4 years, I think that you guys can create some type of ordinance or something like that within state law, whereas you can review a person if they're doing something outside of the scope of their duty.
Well,
you guys, maybe you guys should take the authority from person. Y'all can do that.
I don't think we
votes. Right now we got a strong mayor form of government.
Now, if we were to change the form of government that might be one thing, right?
Council form of government.
But there's also, different ways we can leverage situations that we haven't done in the past. And I tried to do this with the CAO to say there's not going to be a budget approved that has a salary for the CAO in it, and we couldn't get the votes for that.
I got to ask you a question. This came to me. I don't know whether it's true or not. I don't know whether you can validate it or not. Okay. I was told that Percy came in one of your work session meetings and asked you guys to approve Richie McAllister's severance package.
There was some conversation about a severance, about potentially. We didn't know if he would even accept it, but the stipulation would simply be that he has to, not only does he have to go away, but he can't sue the city. He has to stay out of it. He can't come back and work for the city. So in some ways, I thought about it as, and not that I would approve it, but I did have to think, would I pay this guy to leave the city of Meridian? And I almost would. But I don't think he deserves it. And I think, when we've had so many other department heads who have been fired for much less, it's obvious that there's special treatment and has been special treatment going on here. We could all guess the reasons for that.
That's right.
But, that was kind of the way it was put to us is, would you be willing to pay, taxpayers' money, of course, to have him gone? And I had to think about it, but ultimately we never got anywhere in that conversation. I don't know what the latest is on that. This was
I was told
probably a month ago.
No, they would not even put it on the agenda.
No, I don't think they were even close to the votes for it.
Yeah.
But yep. So I think we're moving on anyways in that regard. We have someone sort of acting as the CAO right now who seems to be doing a decent job at least. And if nothing else, the ability to communicate openly in meetings has improved significantly.
I do want to say this is that if a person can go and sin no more, if a person can, and I know that Kim wants to be mayor, but she hadn't shown me anything to make me support her at this point, and neither has Tyrone Johnson. The truth, I look at a person basically tell you who they are without telling you who they are. All you have to do is observe them by their action and the way they voted. And so by their actions and the way they voted, it's not neither one of them would I support. And I've been somewhat castigated because of my position with Tyrone Johnson, but I've been punished. I've been sent to prison. I've been handcuffed. I've been in shackles like slaves, and it's because I broke the law. It's because I deviated. It's because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, because I didn't follow the rules. They didn't look at me because of the color of my skin or how much money I had or didn't have. It's because I broke the law. And I used that same law to get an expungement. So we got to get away from our friends and away from our feelings. When people are not doing what they're supposed to do, we need to get them out of there. I want to thank all of you for listening in, and I want to thank my guest, Weston Lindermann. Weston Lindermann, is anything you want to say to the people?
I think we covered a lot. Hopefully I'll be back soon enough, and we'll talk more about whatever the hot topic is on that day. But I appreciate everyone listening and actually being concerned and caring about the state of the city of Meridian and the things that we're trying to do. I think we've got a little over a year left in office, and I do see some positive things that we're accomplishing, or that we're trying to accomplish rather. So I hope we get to that point. Again, on the Ward 2 situation, it's unfortunate that this is the way it's played out, but you can't just ignore the law.
That's right.
For someone that you like, and especially when there are votes on the line that you can't guarantee.
It's an illegal vote.
Mm-hmm. And you can't guarantee that tomorrow someone wouldn't call and say, if you don't do this, then we're going to report you to the AG's office. Right. And the people of Ward 2 deserve to have someone represent them and not be in that situation. So,
but again, I want to thank you. And it's unfortunate that anybody would think that they don't have to obey the law, and the law does not apply to them. I think that's one of the things that the President of the United States has set a bad example, in that he's shown us that he appears to be above the law, and the people surrounding him and allowing for him to act like that. We cannot do that. We just cannot, because our children and everybody that's on the outside is looking at us. I might like Tyrone, but likes didn't have. I was one of the best looking men I thought that ever been born. It didn't help me. It didn't help me when I broke the law, and I have broke the law. And when I broke the law, I paid for it. And so I'm always on the side of the law. And I ain't too quick. But if you look at it, most of the things that go on in our community that I'm dealing with, it's black people doing it to black people. If I see you mistreat a child, I'm gonna say something to you. But I ain't never seen no white man mistreat no child. I seen black men and black women do that. But we got some chats in the chat room, and I want Dice Man to read those before we go.
Okay. Let's see. We got Ellen Franklin. She was saying I meant $200 a day. So that was going back to her conversation. And you got Mike Moore. Says, good evening, Councilman Eddie and Dice Man from Omaha, Nebraska.
All right.
Wow.
Hey, shout out, Mike.
What up, Mike?
While you in Omaha, make sure you stop at LC's Barbecue. My uncle runs that. He's the one that started that, LC's Barbecue. That stands for Leave It Crier. Anyway, shout out to Mike. Appreciate you
and bring some of that barbecue back if you're going to be here this weekend. Yeah. Is that it?
That's it.
Again, folks, I want to thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys Thursday, where I think my guest will be Tiana Cryer.
All right.
And I hope I have Robert Markham here probably Tuesday or Thursday next week. Thanks again, Weston.
Thank you.
Dice, play that song.